Hey, before we get into today's show, I wanted to make you aware that my next online breathwork class is coming up soon. The link to learn more and register for the class is in the description below this episode. I hope to see you there. Welcome back to another episode of the show. I get a lot of questions on intermittent fasting, so I'm going to cover the best practices and really a simple way to look at fasting that's going to kind of completely change the paradigm. So most people, when they intermittent fast, I've talked about this in past episodes, they really push their eating window back. They skip breakfast entirely. They're just running on coffee and adrenaline throughout the whole course of the day. And then they eat a large meal, maybe midday, and then they eat a large dinner at night. And some people even skip that midday meal and they just reload at dinner. And the problem with this is you're really looking at the equation backwards. And I will say that strategy that I just outlined, skipping your food all day, eating at night, this works for most people's schedules. Like this is the most convenient way to do it. And because a lot of people make poor food choices and don't know how to structure their meals during the day properly, they feel more energetic. They have better mental clarity. They are more productive. Their overall output is better when they're fasting, hence why they do it in large part. Then when they eat during the day, they don't feel as good because the eating really kind of slows them down. And so what I'm going to suggest is the optimal strategy, and then modify it based on your work schedule, based on your obligations, based on what you could realistically pull off in your lifestyle. So ideally speaking, you wake up, you drink water, you do your morning stuff, you eat breakfast when you feel hungry. That could be an hour after waking. That could be 4 or 5 hours after waking. Depends on your activity level, depends on your metabolism, depends on your usual eating regimen. But typically speaking, having your first meal of the day sometime around 9 or 10 a.m. works really well for most people. The reason being is our bodies require nutrition in the first half of the day because this is when we have the highest demands of calories. This is when we're most active. This is when we're most mentally and physically putting out the most output and energy expenditure. It's during the first half of the day. Now you might exercise later in the afternoon and say, hey, Ron, I expend more energy at 4 or 5 p.m. But for the most part, we want food and really fuel for our systems during the day. Now it's in the evenings after we've gotten off work or we're done for the day, we're winding down, maybe watching some TV, maybe hanging out with friends. This is when we have very little caloric expenditure, very little need for fuel. And going into sleep, we want an empty stomach because to really reap the benefits of fasting, you want to be fasting and really in this state of, not having eaten anything for a long time while you're sleeping, because that's when a lot of this cellular cleanup takes place. That's when our gut can really repair. That's when our brain goes through the lymphatic system and starts to help consolidate memories and create all of this different processes that clean up the garbage, clean up the nonsense is a really blunt but accurate way to put it. And so by eating your calories during the day and not eating late at night, you are going to reap so much more benefit than doing the opposite. It's not just calories in, calories out. They do matter. I'm not going to argue that. What I will argue, though, is the timing also matters. And so in a perfect world, what I do and what I recommend to a lot of people I work with is eating within a few hours of waking up. For me, that's around 9:30, sometimes 10 a.m. And I'll have a smoothie. And then usually, because I have plenty of protein and fat in that smoothie, it'll actually push me through the whole day where I'm still productive, I'm still energized, I'm still on top of my game when it comes to my mental output, my work performance. And then I'll eat a nice big early dinner sometime around 4 p.m. Most people will probably hear this, like, are you fucking crazy? 4 p.m. dinner? But this is what really makes me feel amazing. And then by the time I go to sleep at 9 o'clock or 9:30 or 10, sometime in there, my stomach is completely empty. I do not get any late night food cravings because the body naturally, if your circadian rhythm is aligned, decreases hunger hormones later in the evening. And the reason that eating late at night is also bad is because it decreases your insulin sensitivity. It decreases your digestive enzymes. Your microbiome is primed for food during the day. And so trying to eat during the day and have an earlier dinner and no late night snacking is the best way to reap the benefits of intermittent fasting. So I got for you today. I hope you found this video helpful. Biggest takeaway, eat an early dinner and don't worry about the rest. Do whatever you want during the day. Break your fast whenever you feel like it, and you will reap amazing benefits. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you found it helpful, please share it along to anyone else you believe it can serve. You can submit your own question to be answered on the show by going to ryankennedyhealth.com/podcast. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review for the show. Your feedback helps to support me on my mission to positively impact as many people as possible with this information. Please note, the information depicted in this episode is purely for informational purposes only. Please consult your healthcare professional before making any changes to your lifestyle or routine.